friends, welcome back to another tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to make these cute little strawberries. I did want to show you the supplies that I'm using today. I'm using my Knee Lang palette. I'm not 100% sure if that's how you pronounce it, so if it's not, I apologize. But I just get this off of Amazon. I love this palette. I've got these coasters here. This paper is a little warped, so this is just holding down the paper, but I am using the Arches cold pressed 100% cotton watercolor paper. I have my clean water in my cute little mug, and then I have a couple random little dishes for some mixing wells, and then I'm using just a variety of sizes of round brushes. I get these from Michael's. I do have some really beautiful brushes coming, and I'm very excited to share that with you. But that's what I'm using today. Let's get into the tutorial.
First, start out by drawing your strawberries with a light red color. I added some green to the top of my strawberries and some dark red on the outer part of my strawberries. You want to keep the inside of your strawberries light for some highlight. Then I drew my stem and I added 2 little strawberries that weren't ripe yet. Then I lifted some color in the middle of each strawberry. Then I started to paint my flowers using a very light gray, and I put some dark gray in the center, as well as shaping out some of the petals very lightly. Then I painted 2 basic leaves, and I used the tip of my brush to add some spikes to the edge of the leaves. While the leaves were still wet, I went in with some dark green and I added a couple shadows. I also added some dark green throughout the stem. Then I painted the little leaves on top of the green strawberries and added the seeds. Then I took some yellow ochre and I dotted yellow ochre in the center of the flowers, and I added some spikes around the center. Then using a dark red, you can start to paint the seeds on your big strawberries. Make sure they're completely dry before you do this. Then I felt like this spot was a little bare, so I added some buds. I bled the green in from the stems into the buds. Then for some dimension, I added some dark brown to the center of the flowers, and I added some darker gray to the flowers. Then I started to draw the stems on my big strawberries and added some dark green on the leaves and throughout the stem. Now, using the wet on dry technique, I started to add some darker red to my strawberries, focusing on the outer part of my strawberries, leaving the center light for some highlight. And that was it. Thank you so much for watching my tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!